question is, Doug, who do you not want to see? Who would you, since you have to play somebody, who would you like to see in the first round before we move on from there?
I think the only AFC team that would scare me for the Browns in any matchup is Kansas City. I think they're okay against everybody else. So, a first round matchup, it's interesting. I don't have the math in front of me because I'm just a humble sports writer and I'm terrible at math. I mean, the idea that could they play Pittsburgh in week 17 and then come back and play them again in the wild card round would be fascinating to me. And I think that'd be really interesting. But if it's the Colts or the Titans, they've beaten both those teams. The Colts weren't at full strength when the Browns beat them, but the Browns also haven't been at full strength in a bunch of games. So, Buffalo is playing great. I have not been a Josh Allen believer, and if he winds up in the Hall of Fame, I'll be a guy who thought I didn't want the Browns to draft Josh Allen. They're playing at a really high level, obviously, but I think the Browns can play with them. I would not fear that for the Browns. So I think there's great matchups all over the place. I actually think the Ravens probably are the second toughest matchup for the Browns among all the AFC contenders. I'd say Chiefs 1, Ravens 2. Anybody else, absolutely, the Browns have a great chance.
Yeah, bring them on. Well, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's also interesting because I don't know about you. I had no intentions of watching the Steelers game against the Bengals the other night, and I saw what the score was early on, 17-0. I said, well, I got to at least look in here. And what I saw was a team that is kind of evaporating, and almost like the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz, just kind of evaporating as you're watching them. They're near the end of the game. They're getting set to have Roethlisberger give him one more shot, and usually he's got that cockiness in him that you say, well, he's going to do it in his own way, and somehow he's going to find a way to win. I looked at his face, I looked at his demeanor, and I didn't see that anymore. So I don't know if that's just the injury that set him back from last year. I don't know if he's done. I don't know if the team is done. I don't know if Tomlin is done. So that you're looking at a team that has owned Cleveland for a lot of years now, and yet it looks like it's just evaporating in front of our eyes.
They're a defense-first team, and they've had some injuries on defense, and it does feel like Roethlisberger got old overnight. That was the whole thing coming into this year off the injury a year ago. Could he get back to what he had been? And we've seen it with so many of the quarterbacks of that generation, Tom Brady and Drew Brees and guys like that. It feels like they can play forever. But you can't play forever. And at some point, it's going to catch up with you. And it feels like it caught up with Ben Roethlisberger like 2/3 of the way through this season. So Chase Claypool, the rookie receiver, has been great. I think some of their other skill positions, not quite as dynamic. You look at the run game. The Browns' run game is so much better than the Steelers. It's unbelievable. And just right now, with the way Jarvis Landry and Rashard Higgins are playing, you can see the Browns have a much deeper offense than the Steelers do. Absolutely, no doubt about it. And then so if you can't lean on, Bud Dupree and some of the other injuries defensively, if they aren't quite what they usually are defensively, then they aren't who they are. And on our Orange and Brown Talk podcast, I watched that game because I thought the Steelers were going to lose. I predicted it. Now, I predict a lot of stuff that's wrong, but I thought the Steelers were in free fall. So I was not shocked by that outcome. And that Steelers minus 13, that was free money all week. But the idea, they are in free fall, and I have no idea why anybody thinks they would pull out of it. I just don't. They're like you said,
it only takes one. At this point, it only takes one game. You say, well, can they pull out of it? They don't have to pull out of it for the next 10 games. Those 10 games are gone already.
The Colts and the Browns. I think the Colts and the Browns are better football teams than the Steelers right now. So does the better football team win every game? No, absolutely not. But I would, if I was setting a betting line, I don't know what the line is for the Steelers and the Colts this week. I'm sure the Colts are favored, and I would imagine the Browns are going to be favored in week 17. So the Steelers are not playing as well as the last two teams they have to play this season. Does that mean they'll lose both? Not a guarantee. No. My guess is, it means they'll lose both.